5-minute tax guides from your 5-minute tax guy. Short lessons to help you navigate the treacherous, hazardous, and totally unpredictable U.S. federal tax code. Each January, if you're employed, you receive a document from your employer called a Form W-2 or a wage and tax statement. This W-2 has lots of numbers on it that you need to complete and file your income tax return. But what do all those numbers on your W-2 mean? Deciphering that W-2 that you get from your employer can be confusing and frustrating, but no worries. The 5-minute tax guy is here to help. There are many numbers on a Form W-2, known to the IRS as a wage and tax statement, but not all of the numbers are relevant to the preparation of your income tax return. The W-2 reports the earned income which you receive from your employer and must be distributed to the employee by January 31st of the year following the year for which is being reported. If a W-2 is distributed after January 31st, then the employer faces a fine for each form which is not distributed or which is distributed late. The very first thing that you should check on your W-2 is that it has the correct tax year for which you are reporting. On the bottom of the W-2, it will have the year to which it applies. Just make sure that if you're doing a prior year return, that you have the correct Form W-2 for that year. Below is an example of a W-2 with information being reported for a fictitious employee. We'll use this W-2 as our example throughout this lesson. The W-2 reports biographical information for each employee, such as name and address and social security number. The W-2 also reports information for the employer, such as name and address and employer identification number, or EIN. The first really important piece of information on the W-2, at least to you, the taxpayer, is contained in Box 1, which is wages, tips, and compensation. Simply put, this is your taxable income, which will appear on your tax form. Possibly equally important to you is what appears in Box 2, Federal Income Tax Withheld. This is the amount of federal tax that has been deducted from your paycheck throughout the year, and it will go towards reducing the amount you owe at the end of the year when you file your tax return. The 4 boxes that appear next are not really relevant to your tax return because they most likely will not affect the amount of tax you owe. In Box 3, you'll see the amount of your Social Security wages. This amount may or may not be the same as Box 1. Box 4 will show the amount of Social Security tax that was withheld from your wages based on your Social Security wages. For 2017 and 2018, this amount should be 6.2% of your Social Security wages. Box 5 and 6 show your Medicare wages and Medicare tax withheld respectively. For 2017 and 2018, the amount of your Medicare tax withheld should be 1.45% of your Medicare wages. If you work in a job where you receive tips as part of your income, then you may see an amount in Box 7, Social Security tips. The amount in this box is included in Box 1, wages. Box 8 will contain tips which have been allocated by your employer. These are tips which you did not report to your employer, but which they allocated to you based on some formula relevant to the industry in which they operate. This amount is not included in Box 1, so must be added to that amount to include on your tax return as wages. If your employer reimbursed you for any dependent care expenses, then that reimbursement amount will appear in Box 10. However, this is not common, so we won't spend any time discussing it here. The boxes designated as Box 12A through 12D contain various codes describing what appears in those boxes. The most common codes you will see will be for health and life insurance and retirement plans. Off to the right, you'll see some of the more common codes that might appear in Box 12. Box 13 consists of 3 check boxes to indicate 1, if you're a statutory employee. Chances are you're not, so don't worry about this one. Number 2, if you are enrolled in an employer-sponsored retirement plan. And 3, if this W-2 is reporting third-party sick pay. Box 14 contains information that usually does not affect your tax return and is usually for information purposes only. Boxes 15 through 17 report state information. Box 15 contains the postal code for the state to which the wages are being reported and the employer's state ID number. Box 16 contains wages reported to that state, which will usually be the same as Box 1. Box 17 contains state tax withheld for that state. There may be multiple states reported on these lines if your employer operates in more than one state. Boxes 18 through 20 report local information, usually cities. 18 reports wages reported to that locality. Box 19 reports local income tax withheld for the locality. And 20 contains the name of the locality, and this will usually be a code to indicate the name of a city, such as IN for Indianapolis. Most taxpayers will not have any information in the boxes which contain local information. These boxes will contain information only if the municipality in which they live or work imposes an income tax. Incidentally, some states do not impose an income tax, so if you live in one of those states, your W-2 will not have any information in boxes 15 through 17, state information, and you will not pay any state income tax. If any information on your W-2 is incorrect, then you need to decide if you can still use it to prepare your tax return or if you need to get your employer to issue a corrected W-2. You do not need a corrected W-2 if your address on the W-2 is incorrect or out of date. You can go ahead and prepare your tax return using your current address instead of the one printed on the W-2. You will need a corrected W-2 if 1. Your name or social security number, which is printed on the W-2, is incorrect. Number 2, if any of the dollar amounts on your W-2 is incorrect. And number 3, if the Social Security tax withheld is not the correct percentage, 6.2% for 2017 and 2018, or the Medicare tax withheld is not the correct percentage, 1.45% for 2017 and 2018. If any of the codes in Box 12 are incorrect, you will also need a corrected W-2.